Hello, 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 and a very warm welcome to all of you. Welcome to today's session. I'm Asmita, your IELTS mentor here at Vedantu, and today we are going to discuss some traps that are set for you in the IELTS listening exam. Yes, perhaps the easiest part of the entire IELTS test is the listening part, but to make it a bit challenging, to make sure that you're paying attention and you have good listening comprehension skills, the exam has some traps in it that precisely assess whether or not you pay attention to the entire conversation or not, and whether or not you're able to understand some common things that are done while talking. For example, backtracking on something that you've just said, correcting yourself, stuff like that, okay? So we're going to discuss these traps. I am going to read out audios for you. You are going to answer questions that you see, and we're going to see whether or not you fell into the trap or not. Before we get started, let me know if everything is good to go. I am audible, visible. All right. Hi, hello. Okay, great. So a lot of times what happens in the listening test is that you are so focused on finding the correct answers for the questions that as soon as you hear a potential answer, you write it down. Now that's okay. Obviously, as soon as you hear an answer, you should write it down. But sometimes what happens is, on purpose, the audio backtracks. The audio changes the answer. So whoever is talking, it could be a conversation, it could be a monologue. Whoever is talking sort of go back on their words and say, oh, sorry, this is not what I meant. I meant to say this. Or I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong information. This is the correct information. So these are certain traps that you need to look out for. Apart from these, there are also words that sound similar. This can happen especially with numbers, 15, 50, sounding similar, and you might not exactly catch what was said. You have to pay really, really, really good attention to be able to actually tell what was said. Another kind of a trap is the homonyms trap, where there are two words that sound the same and you need to be able to tell from context which of these words was being discussed so that you can write the correct spelling of the word as an answer, okay? So these are some traps that you're going to look out for. This is not going to be a long class. It's going to end, I think, in half an hour max. Okay, but this is something that you need to be very careful about when it comes to the listening part of the test. We've practiced live solving listening and we're going to keep doing it. We'll do it again. But the next time we do it, I want you to look out for confusing questions like these that are put in there on purpose to confuse you. All right? So if we are ready to get started, let me show you the first question. This is to do with the first audio that I'm going to read out for you, okay? So this is for audio 1. Now there is no recording. I am the recording, so I'm going to read it out live. But before we do this, you need to remember the basics of the listening test. Number 1, you can listen to the recording only once. So following that rule, I am going to read out the audio only once, or I'm going to read out the script only once. And in that one time, you need to be able to give me the correct answer for this question, okay? Now, the second thing is there are many different kinds of questions. For example, there is MCQ, there is form or notes or any sort of completion, right? There is summary, there is fill in the blanks. So you have many different types of questions. We are going to see some of them. So we are going to see a decent variety in today's class as well. But just keep in mind that before I start reading out the audio for you, make sure that you assess what kind of a question it is. It could also be a match question. I think match questions are very confusing. They require a lot of skills to be demonstrated simultaneously. So pay very careful attention to the match questions. So before I start reading out the audio, make sure you have a fair idea of the question that you're answering. Now here, because there is only one question per audio, this shouldn't be a challenge. But in the actual listening test, this will be a challenge. That is why you get some time to go through the questions. Make sure you use that time wisely. All right. So with this in mind, remember there are going to be no repetitions no matter how many times you request for them. So it's going to be like the actual test. So you get used to paying attention the first time someone is saying something. Okay. If we are ready to go, I am going to read out the first audio. All right. So let me know if we are ready. Give me a thumbs up and I will read out the first audio for you. This is the question. The question is, how much did they decide to pay for the holiday? Okay. All right. If I see a couple of thumbs ups, I'll know that you are in an environment where you're not going to get distracted, and then I'll get started. Okay. Great. Okay. So now, as you can see, I don't have an American or a British accent. But if there's going to be a conversation, I'll change my voice a little bit so you will be able to tell that it's two different people talking. I will also indicate exactly when I am going to start reading out the audio script. Okay. Now for audio 1, you will hear only one person speak. I am going to get started in 3, 2, 1. So I was thinking of the trip to Green Hill. It's £450, but the hotel doesn't have great reviews. Oh wait, I just found one in Lakeview. It's cheaper, only £415, and has excellent feedback. Let's go with that one. Now you have to answer the question. The question is, how much did they decide to pay for the holiday? How much did they decide to pay for the holiday? What is the answer? Okay, very good. Perfect. So there were two types of, now see, I've already set you up. The class is called Life Traps, Don't Fall for the Traps. I already gave you so much information about traps, so you are actively looking out for these things. But during the test, you might not pay attention, okay? Because there's so much information, so many questions, lengthy audios, you might not pay attention to these things. So this is practice to put in your muscle memory to look out for these traps. So well done. All of you got it right, but I want you to learn the symbols for these different currencies. Okay, so here they decided to go with 415, not 450. If it's pounds, it's going to be like this. If it's dollars, it's going to be this. Okay, learn the symbols. Always a good idea to write the symbols instead of spelling out the name of the currency. All right. Okay, perfect. Now it's only going to get more complicated. So I hope you're ready. Now we're going to listen to the next audio. Here is the question. I'm giving you 30 seconds to go through the question. But yeah, quick shout out to Kirtan Preet, Krutik, Jay, Lakshay, Ananya, Divyansh, Mitta. Great job. Okay. All right. What position is the man applying for? Marketing, sales, or finance? And you need to give me the answer in the letter. Don't write the words. Write A, B, or C. Okay. Are we ready for the next audio? Here we go. So now this is a conversation between two people, a recruiter and a candidate. So before I say exactly what they are saying, I'm going to take their name so that you know who is speaking. Since I'm just one person with the same voice, so I'm going to say recruiter, and then whatever the recruiter says, then I'm going to say candidate and whatever the candidate says. Okay, here we go. Recruiter. Good morning. Can I confirm which role you're applying for? Candidate. Yes, I applied for the marketing assistant position last week. Recruiter. I see. Candidate. Although, after speaking to some friends who work here, I realized the position is actually categorized under sales, not marketing. So yes, it's the sales assistant role. Recruiter. Great. Let me pull up the listing. That's the end of the audio. Please give me the answer quickly. What position is the man applying for? Okay, Lakshay, the first one to give the answer. Very well done. The answer is B. Applying for the sales position. Ananya, oh no. You said A, you fell for the trap. So we have the first person in today's class who actually fell into the trap that was set. That's okay. It's all right. It can happen. So when you're listening to the audio, you know the question, right? Because you've read the question beforehand. So as soon as the audio says that the man is applying for a marketing position, what you do is you mark this as the correct answer, which is the right thing to do. You need to do this. Right? Good job. Okay. So simultaneously, you've ticked on marketing. But what has happened? The person talking in the audio recording corrects himself and says, but actually it's not marketing, it is sales. So then as soon as the person in the recording corrects themselves, you too need to correct your answer. So everything is going to go along with the audio simultaneously. So you will take on marketing first. All of you must have thought the answer is marketing first, which is right, which is the right approach. But then as soon as the candidate says, but I just realized it's a sales role, you need to cross off marketing and say, okay, it's a sales role. All right? You have to do this. This is one isolated question for one particular audio. But when you have a long 3-minute long conversation and you have 5 different questions that you need to answer, this will become difficult to do. So you need to have laser focus to be able to do these things, which is why I am preparing you for these traps that are set on purpose. Right now, you might find it easy. Okay, right now, you might say this is very straightforward. But the point is to get into your muscle memory the fact that such traps will be set and you shouldn't fall for them. Because when you are not informed beforehand that this is what we're going to practice, when it's just a full-length listening test, that's when you will not be able to juggle so many things at the same time. You have to pay attention to the recording, you have to pay attention to the question formats. There are many different questions, lengthy recordings, different accents. So because there are so many factors, this might not be something that you focus on, which is why today the purpose is to practice focusing on this as well, so that you can do it subconsciously. You don't have to do it consciously. The only thing you need for this is laser sharp focus. If you don't have laser sharp focus, you are going to miss out on the correction. Okay? What happens? I'll tell you another thing that happens. Absolutely, Lakshay, so very good. It was that you switched from 450 to 450, right? So here, another thing that can happen is you think you got the right answer. As soon as the candidate says that he's applying for a marketing position, you say, oh, okay, he's applying for a marketing position. A is the correct answer. Then you move on to the next question. The next question is about something else. So what our tendency is, and this happens a lot. This happens to everyone. It also happens to me. the tendency is to stop paying attention to the recording. So as soon as you've answered the first question, you think that you've gotten the right answer for this, you want a little break, because like we've discussed many times, the recordings are kind of boring and you don't want to pay attention to them. Also, we have really bad attention spans. So you decide to take a little break. You're like, okay, I've already answered this question. Now, before they move on to the next topic, which is the next question, I can take a little break and I can stop paying attention, or I can quickly think about something else and come back to the recording. If you do that, then you will miss out on the correction, the backtracking that the audio has done. Okay, so make sure you're not taking any sort of breaks in the middle. Even if you have answered the question, you still have to pay attention, because anything can change. These things are done on purpose. All right. Next question. Okay, this is now audio 3. What time does the library open? Is it 8:30 a.m., 9 a.m. or 9:30 a.m.? A, B or C? Okay. So this time it's going to be a conversation between a student and the librarian. So I'll read it out the same way. Okay, starting in 3, 2, 1. Student. Hi, I just wanted to double check. What time does the main library open in the morning? Librarian. We open at 9 a.m. every weekday. Student. Oh, actually, I think that was the old schedule. I saw sign last week. Librarian. Ah, you're right. We recently changed it. It now opens at 8:30 a.m. from Monday to Friday. Student. Perfect. Thanks for confirming. That's the end of the audio. What is the answer? What is our correct answer here? Very good. So we have Ananya, Krute, Kirtan Preet, Jay, Gurleen, Edits 101, Shivangi, Prasad King. Everybody? Perfect. So our correct answer is A. It was 8:30. The librarian thought it was 9, but then corrected herself. Another thing that can happen here that you need to look out for is that these were specifically weekday timings. So a lot of times what happens is someone gives you the weekday timings and then someone, one second. Yes, sorry. So you get the weekday timing and then you get the weekend time. Okay, and then you might also get the public holiday time. And the recording might say something like, we are open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the weekends, and public holidays follow the weekend schedule. And then the question could be something like, till what time will the library be open on Christmas or some other public holiday? Then you need to form that connection that, okay, weekday timings were 9 to 6, weekend was 9 to 4, and public holiday timings are weekend timings. So the answer will be 9 to 4. So the answer will not be given to you in a direct, straightforward way. It'll be given in a way that you need to infer and apply whatever you've heard to figure out. Okay, so there's some effort from your end that needs to be done. The answer is not simply dictated to you. Okay, so make sure that you're looking out for these things, especially in timing related questions, whether it's weekday, whether it's weekend, public holiday, what are the different timings that are followed and stuff like that. All right, just give me 1 second. I'll be back. And I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Now we are going to move on to the next question, and they are going to get progressively harder. Okay. So this is now audio 4. Okay, what is the course registration deadline? Is it Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday? Again, A, B, or C. Actually, you don't need the Oxford comma here. Okay. And I am going to read it out now. This is a conversation between student A and student B. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Student A. Hey, do you know when the deadline for signing up for the elective modules is? Student B. I'm pretty sure it's this Friday. Student A. Wait, I'll check the website. Give me a sec. Student A. Oh no, it says Thursday at noon, not Friday. Good thing I looked it up. Student B. Wow, that's close. I almost missed it. Again, super simple, same thing. But see, we need to practice the simple things again and again so that they become a part of our muscle memory. And this is the last simple question. After this, you have 2 more questions that are going to be extremely complicated because it will be form completion and match questions, okay? So this is your last practice of backtracking when the audio corrects itself. So our correct answer here is very good, B, Thursday. Great job, Ameya. Very convinced in your answer. That's great. Okay, so now the reason for practicing these super simple things is, so when you learn swimming, for a month, they are just making you flap your legs, right? You hold the edge of the pool and you're just flapping. You might think that this is so easy. Why do I have to keep doing this for a month? The reason you have to keep doing it is so that it becomes a part of your muscle memory, so that you don't have to consciously think about doing it. It automatically happens when you try and swim. Because when you start swimming, you have to add so many other things, which how your arm movements are going to be like, what kind of a stroke are you going for, how will you get up and breathe. Because so many other factors get added, this has to become something that your brain doesn't actively think about. Same thing, this backtracking thing, we are practicing it. We're practicing it with simple audios again and again so that it becomes a part of your muscle memory and you don't have to actively think about this while attempting the listening part of the test. It's just something that automatically happens for you. But now, having said that, the questions are going to get harder. Okay? So now this is audio 5. And this is going to be a monologue. So far, everything we saw was a conversation, and conversations are easier to focus on because 2 people are talking, what they say changes, the voice changes. Okay, so these breaks are actually very helpful. You might have heard that, it's easier nowadays for people to focus on videos that are heavily edited. The reason being the frame changes, the scene changes quickly. And because our attention spans have become so bad, we need something to change every 6 seconds or so for us to be able to pay attention to it. And all of this has happened because of watching short form content like reels and shorts, where we just watch something for a few seconds and then scroll away. So it's very important for the scene to change every 6 seconds. And this is why it's easier for us to focus on conversation, because at least something is changing. The voice is changing, the content is changing. The problem with monologues now is that one person is talking about the same thing at length, and it's like 10 times easier to zone out in monologues. So Part 2 and Part 4 of the listening test become difficult because of this reason. Part 1 and Part 3 are easy because they're a conversation. Part 2 and Part 4 are monologues. And we get bored and distracted during monologues. We need to train our brains to be able to focus on one thing, even if it is boring at length, okay? And this has to become a part of your IELTS preparation for sure, where you need to do some sort of digital detox. Otherwise, you will not be able to perform well in the listening test. At least a week before the IELTS, you need to stop scrolling altogether. And for the months leading up to the IELTS test, you need to make sure that you're limiting your time on short form content. For example, you are giving yourself a dedicated half an hour only to scroll, and you're not scrolling before or after that. You need to develop that self-control, that willpower. Otherwise, you will not be able to train your brain to pay attention during the listening test. And this is the part of the IELTS where it's so easy for you to score really well, get a good band that can get your overall band average up. Okay, if you're able to score a band 9 here, get all the right answers, then that will bring your overall band average up. So this you can use. Okay, Harshit, then I'll come back to your question later if it's not related to what we're talking about. To an end of the class, I'll pay attention to what you're saying. Okay. All right. So please, 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 your listening preparation, people might tell you you need to get used to different accents. You need to practice the sample test again and again. I agree with that. That is very solid advice. You need to do this. But another thing that a lot of people don't talk about is the fact that you need to work on developing your attention span. You need to make your attention span better. Okay. For that, digital detox is the only solution. You need to improve your habits. You need to single-mindedly learn how to focus on one thing at a time. Don't stop multitasking. You know, we have a habit. You might have noticed that if you're trying to watch a movie on television or you're doing something, you're simultaneously on your phone. Okay, or if you're working on a project, you will play some music in the background. So we're so used to doing 2 things or 3 things at a time that we have lost the ability to focus deeply in one thing. Okay, so please learn to build that focus again. Otherwise you will see, it's not in your control. Zoning out, getting distracted, your mind wandering and thinking about other things, that's not in your control. And once that happens, boom, that's it, because you will not be able to listen to the recording again. No matter what you say to the examiner, no matter how hard you cry over there is absolutely no way for you to listen to one recording again. Missed out on it once, that's over. Okay, so this is a big deal. Take this seriously. Now coming to the next audio, which is going to be a monologue, you have to complete the form below using one word and or a number. Please, please, please read these instructions very carefully. You might simply lose marks because you wrote 2 words instead of one. Okay? Follow the instructions to the T, one word and or a number. So it could be one word, the answer could be one number, or it could be one word plus one number. These are the only possibilities you have. Okay? You can write one word, one number, or you can write a word and a number. Nothing else. You write more than this, you will not get points. Okay? So what are you supposed to do here? You're completing the form. This is the facility and its availability. Here your questions are marked as 1, 2, 3 and 4. So you need to give me the answer. 1 is this, 2 is this, in that format. All right? Are we ready? So I'm going to move out of the way a little bit for this so that you can see the screen. Okay, I'm just gonna, I'll just bend. Okay. Are we ready for the audio? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Westwood University. I'm Sarah, part of the student liaison team. Let's go through some key areas. The university library is open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. on weekdays. On weekends, however, it's slightly different, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now, please note that while we have a gym on campus, it's currently closed for renovation until next month, not permanently shut as some have assumed. For transportation, the university shuttle operates between the main campus and the residence hall every 30 minutes, not hourly like before. Also, if you're looking for job opportunities, the careers office opens every Monday and Wednesday. We used to run sessions on Fridays too, but that's no longer the case. All right, that's the end of the audio. Now let's look at the answers. Did you catch all of them? Did you miss out on something? Okay. So 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Is that one word, one number? Here's the catch. Is that one word or one number? We can have only one word, one number, or a combination of words and numbers. So if you try to give the time over here, if you try to give the timings, that's more than one word or one number. So you can't do that. Okay. What can you write here to indicate the availability? What can you write here to indicate the availability? If you say it's open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., that's more than one word or one number, so that can't be an answer. What is something else that you can write that can complete this form with one word? That doesn't contradict anything that was said in the audio. So first, I will acknowledge the correct answers. Is shut down one word? Is 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. one word or one number? Can you use these? Are you following the instructions? Here again, you have fallen for a trap, which is not following the instructions. When the instructions have put a restriction on your answer, you need to make sure that you are answering accordingly. Very good, Krutik. We can simply say it is open on weekends because the audio specifically gave us the timings that yes, the timings on the weekend are different, but it is still open on weekends, right? So we can write one word here, which is open on weekends. Here it's currently, if I write shut down, that's more than one word. So I can just replace it with another word that is following our instructions, which is closed, currently closed. Okay. Now here everyone got this right. Everyone got the last one right. That our careers office is open on Monday and Wednesday and the shuttle service runs every very good 30 minutes. All right. So, lot of you lost a lot of marks here simply because you did not follow this instruction. If you followed this instruction, the answers were actually quite easy. Open on weekends, currently closed, runs every 30 minutes, open on Monday and Wednesday. Okay? So you've understood where you went wrong. Don't make this mistake again. The easiest trap to fall for is actually simply not following instructions. Please read the instruction carefully. Even if you give a factually correct answer, it's not going to be considered if it contradicts the instructions. Okay? And time for our last question here, which is audio 6. Again, a monologue. And it's a difficult sort of question type. I find this personally kind of confusing, but follow simultaneously and you will be able to get it. So you have to match each feature of the castle to the correct information, which means that these are going to coincide with these. So you have to write the letter over here next to the number that it applies to. So whatever here applies to the main gate, for example, if it's C, then you write C next to it. So how are you going to give me answers? You're going to give me answers like this. 1C, 2A, 3E, whatever. Okay? And as you can see, there are 6 options here, but only 4 questions actually. That means 2 of them are distractors. Okay, and these distractors are going to be very good at distracting you. That is the trap over here, the trap of very confusing distractors put there on purpose to throw you off. Okay, so make sure you understand exactly which one of these applies absolutely to these different areas of the castle. All right, are we ready? Here's the audio. I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Greystone Castle. We'll start at the main gate, built in the early 12th century, although many believe it's older. Next, you'll see the towers. There are 4 in total, but we'll only visit 2 due to ongoing repairs. The Great Hall, our next stop, served as a dining area and sometimes a courtroom. Though it's empty today, it once held magnificent tapestries which are now displayed in a museum in London. Lastly, the dungeons, believed to be haunted, are off limits for safety reasons, not because of the ghost stories, of course. That's the end of the audio. Now let's hear the answers. Let's see if you got this right. Come on, come on, come on. Okay. 1A, 2E, 3B, and 4D. Okay. There's a very good distractor here that some of you have already fallen for. So you fell into the trap. You took the bait and you are now trapped. All of you actually. Okay, first let's get the obvious ones out of the way, which most of you got right. All of you got right actually. Main gate built in the 12th century. Factually stated, absolutely true. That's correct. No backtracking. Spoke about the main gate once and the only information given about it was that it was built in the 12th century. Okay, so this is out. Next, the Great Hall. What are the different things that was said about the Great Hall? Yes, there was mention of tapestries, but they are not still on display because the tapestries are now displayed in the museum, London Museum. So this is out. Next thing that was said is that yes, it was used as a courtroom sometimes. So Great Hall, E, once used as a courtroom. Absolutely correct. Okay. Next, we had the towers. So we can get rid of this as well. Let's get rid of the wrong answers in a different color. So because this was wrong, red. Next, towers. It was said systematically that 4 towers are there, but 2 are undergoing repairs. That's why we can only visit 2. So B seems to be right here and we can get rid of this. Now we are left with these 2 options. Both of them are about the dungeons, but one of them is a very strong distractor. Okay, so now here what the strong distractor is related to the ghost thing. Okay, now the audio specifically said that the dungeons are believed to be haunted. Yes, but they are off limits. They are off limits due to safety reasons, not because of ghosts. So it specifically said that the dungeons are off limit. What is a synonym of off limit? A synonym of off limit here is inaccessible. Off limits and inaccessible mean the same thing. So off limits, why? Safety reasons, not ghosts. Yes, they're believed to be haunted, but those are just stories that people have spread. Sort of like urban legends. Not true. The reason why the dungeons are off limit is because of safety reasons. So that makes D wrong. That makes the correct answer for 4F. Alright? So you had a very strong distractor here that a lot of you fell for. The audio, I will read it out again even though you're not allowed to listen to it another time. Just so that you can pay attention to these things, I'm going to read it out again. Lastly, the dungeons believed to be haunted are off limits for safety reasons, not because of the ghost stories, of course. So they are not off limits because of ghost sightings, off limits or inaccessible, which is a synonym, due to safety reasons. So here two traps. One is very close distractor and the second is the synonym trap. Now the option with the distractor uses the exact same words as the audio. The audio said off limits, the distractor also says off limits, which is why you thought this is closer to the right answer. Okay, the actual correct answer used a synonym. So make sure that you're always looking out for synonyms. It's very important. The answers here will have synonyms. They will not have the exact words. You won't get verbatim answers. That just makes it too easy. Your comprehension is being tested. Whether you're able to listen to certain information, understand it correctly. Okay, so that understanding, that comprehension is tested through the use of synonyms. A distractor here had the exact same words as the audio, which is why you fell for it. If you had paid attention to the synonym inaccessible, a synonym of off limits, you would have easily chosen F as the correct answer, because safety reasons was the reason why these dungeons were inaccessible or off limits, not ghost sightings. That was a misconception. Okay, and with that, we've reached the end of today's session. Those were the traps. I told you we were just doing the warm-up in the first 3 questions, and then first 4 questions actually, and the last 2 actually became quite difficult, where you did mess up and did not get a perfect score. What happened with C? Tapestries are still on display. This was also a strong distractor. This was also a strong distractor. Yes, not quite as strong as E, but it was a good distractor. Now, what was said about the tapestries? It was said that the Great Hall once had tapestries that are now on display. They are on display, but where? In the London Museum. They are on display in the London Museum, not in the Great Hall. So if you say that the tapestries, Nitin, are still on display in the Great Hall, that contradicts the information given in the recording, because the recording clearly stated that there used to be tapestries in the Great Hall, but those tapestries are now where? In the London Museum. So you cannot say they are still on display. Strong distractor, but not quite as confusing as D. Okay? Got it? Does that answer your question? All right, perfect. So I'm sure you will now no longer fall for these traps, because we did some very precision type of training. You know, in military boot camps, they have precision training for certain situations, like, you know, what happens if you step on a landmine? What are you supposed to do? So this is kind of that. These are traps that are laid out for us. If we think of the IELTS like a battle or a war, these are traps that are laid out for us, and now we are learning or doing some precision training to find out how we need to deal with these traps, how to get out of them safely. Okay, so if you I know for a fact that these are going to be extremely beneficial for you. A lot of thought has gone into these videos, and personally, even when I was preparing or helping others prepare in the beginning of my career, I couldn't find such resources online. So I know just how valuable these videos can be for you, which are being provided to you here for free. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's essentially all you need to do. Subscribe to the channel and attend the sessions, okay? You can also spread the word to others who are preparing for the IELTS so they can benefit from these as well. And don't forget to follow us on our socials so you don't miss out on any important updates, all right? It's my absolute pleasure, Gurleen. So thank you for being a part of the class. Prasad, you should definitely give more time to the JEE because it's a tougher exam. But whenever, like I've told you multiple times, the preparation for IELTS doesn't always have to be active preparation. It can even be passive preparation. The point of the IELTS test is to just baseline test whether or not you can communicate in English. You don't have to be an expert in English. So for the JEE exam, there's some sort of, very in-depth knowledge that's required. Here in the IELTS, you don't need in-depth knowledge of the language. No one's going to ask you to quote Yeats or Shakespeare. Here, you just have to be able to communicate. So passively, you can prepare for the IELTS. So definitely, I would say it should be like probably like an 80-20 breakup, where only 20% of your time should go into the IELTS preparation. Most of it should go into JEE preparation, okay? Okay, thank you so much. I will see you again tomorrow. Till then, take care. All right, eat well, chill. It's fine. I know it's a stressful time in your lives, but it's gonna go by fine. You're going to